My name is Marcus McGowan, and I'll be presenting a brief presentation on historical critical exegesis, or the formation of how we critically understand Scripture. I want to begin with the principles of historical critical exegesis as stated by Keith Stangling in The Letter and Spirit of Biblical Interpretation. There are 8 total principles that serve as the foundation for how critical exegesis was established. The first is doubt. As times changed, the validity of meanings of biblical texts came into question. This came into fruition in the modern age, in the modern period, and it continues to today. The second is clarity of Scripture. Concern for the correct doctrine that was necessary specifically for salvation came into question. The third is single literal meaning. Pre-modern interpreters restricted the meaning of Scripture to one sense, the literal sense. This marked the transition from literal to original. So it changed from the literal interpretation to the original interpretation of or intent of the biblical author. The fourth principle is the loss of spiritual senses. So the focus on the literal sense resulted in loss of spiritual sense and interpretation. Fifth is uninspired and diverse. As the spiritual interpretation faded, the Bible began to be viewed as disconnected human documents with no unification or divine connection to God. Sixth is free from dogma. So there was no tradition from the church outside of the author of the book of the Bible. Seventh is historical criticism and academic precision. So historical interpretation led to truthful interpretation, but most people did not have the ability to make historical connections. And eighth is irrelevance of virtue. So the interpretation was strictly intellectually based. It was determined that there was no need for spiritual connection or connection to the Holy. Now I will provide the definitions for the different criticisms. So first is source criticism, which is the analysis and study of the sources used by biblical authors. Next is form criticism, which is the analysis of the Bible by tracing the history of its content and other literary forms. And then lastly is redaction criticism, which is the study of the way various pieces of the tradition have been assembled into final literary arrangement. And lastly, there was the video on source criticism. And so source criticism links the books of the Bible using a system called JEDP. And through this system, books of the Bible can be placed and located in their chronological order. This concludes my presentation on critical historical exegesis. Thank you.